What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Movie Raised.
You know Riverdale, right? You know, the series that managed to amass more than 600,000 views per episode on the CW network? And that's one of the reasons Netflix aired it on their platform as well. We know Betty and Jughead, more commonly referred to as Bughead. Not to mention there's also Choni. Who is in this duo? Well, Cheryl Blossom, played by Madelaine Petsch, and Toni Topaz, played by Vanessa Morgan, of course. And we all know the story. Cheryl had a friend that she loved more than anything in the world, until her mother forbade her to see Heather, fearing of the lesbian relationship her daughter might develop with the girl. And ever since she confided in her, ever since Cheryl told Toni everything about her past, she suddenly became less cold and heartless. Toni began getting closer and closer until one night when, you know what. You have to watch the rest of this video if you want to figure out what scene we're talking about. So join us in today's video about the 10 unforgettable Choni moments in Riverdale. Let's go, guys! Number 10. Cold and untouchable. When we're talking about Choni, we couldn't think of any better way to start explaining the story than by actually covering the beginning. When the Serpents first got to the school, Cheryl was acting like the diva she is and immediately started bossing everyone around. And then Toni Topaz, the one girl that has serpent written all over her, decided to confront her in the bathroom. This is where all of the magic happens, and this is where they first started talking. At once, Toni saw through that cold and bitter exterior and told her to start talking about her most painful moments, so they can start resolving the issues she's having. You can imagine how she reacted when Toni placed her hand on her arm. Yelling and screaming is the name of Cheryl's game when she's confronted, plus a little storming off. Number 9. Not so heartless after all. You know when all that cold-heartedness started melting away? It was the moment Toni finally broke through to her and asked her if she wanted some company after being stood up. And you know what Cheryl did? She accepted the invitation. They began talking about exactly what Toni suggested they talk about in their first encounter, her most painful memory. Once Cheryl started opening up about how her mother kicked out Heather because she didn't want her daughter to end up being a lesbian, Toni started consoling her, telling her it's not her fault and that her mother was wrong for doing so. This marks the beginning of what we would later know as Choni. When two people get emotionally attached, it's Riverdale policy that they merge their names, and their friends begin referring to them as Choni. Number 8. Toni's protest. We all thought that Pickens Day was a joyous event in Riverdale, where everyone gathered to celebrate the achievements of the aforementioned general and his troops. Not to mention smashing that like button if you haven't done that already. Not so fast. Toni marches during the ceremony with a bunch of the Southsiders, all with their mouths covered in duct tape. Toni explains that the duct tape signifies the silent and the dead that were wrongfully murdered, the native settlers that the general disposed of and claimed the land as theirs. And you think that Cheryl will continue being the ruthless and insensitive diva she always was, but guess what? She leaves her mother behind and joins the protest. Number 7. Egg theft. When you have an egg that's worth more than the actual GDP of most third world developing countries, guess what? You'd better keep it safe. Hermione didn't, and that's exactly why the Choni duo broke into her home dressed in black cat outfits and stole the most valuable possession in her home. And you might already know that Jughead is extremely opposed to these sort of things. He even has a rule against stealing. So what does he do next? He kicks them out of the Southside Serpents and strips them of their jackets. But Toni leaves with her head held high saying, "I am Serpent by blood, and you can never take that away from me." Number 6. The Choni's first fight. And don't think it's all pink and rosy between these two. Far from it. They have their regular spats, although they're pretty rare. Most of the time they're supportive and they can't live 1 second without one another. And when Cheryl outed Moose in front of the whole school just to get back at her mother, Toni confronted her in the bathroom, saying that her uncle did not like lesbians and would not approve of her. Plus, the Serpents were the only non-judgmental family. Cheryl feels her pain and promises she'll do anything to fix the problems that she has caused. Thus, she apologized to Moose for the problems she caused. Number 5. The Pretty Poisons. To fix the problems she caused in Toni's life, she prepared a little surprise. She gathered all the girls that were looking for support or community, basically a place they can call home. And knowing how much Toni misses the serpents, this was a true sunny day in all the heavy rain she's been having lately. She immediately accepts, and Cheryl asks her to name her newfound gang. Without hesitation, Toni immediately says, "Pretty Serpents." Cheryl loved it, the girls loved it, and we loved it as well. All of those girls were now united, and they had a place of belonging, a place where they could feel understood, just like Toni felt when she was with the serpents. Number 4. Mass seizures in Riverdale. When an outbreak happens in Riverdale High, every single cheerleader begins experiencing massive spasms and they all fall to the floor. The only one that hasn't been infected was Cheryl. As she runs to Toni, she begins screaming for help, hoping that someone might come to their rescue. Luckily, no one got hurt. As Toni was recovering in Cheryl's bed, she asked her if she would like to move in with her. Toni agrees and they hug it out together. During this whole situation, the two are seen walking hand in hand in the school's hallway. One jock notices them and asks them to stop showing public signs of affection, as that might make the outbreak even worse. But you know Cheryl, so she kindly tells them to beat it. It was a bit more vicious than that, if you know what we mean. Number 3. The Pool Party. With season over and season 3 just beginning, Cheryl and Toni had a motorbiking trip during the summer, which we would have loved to see all the details of, but whatever. Then Cheryl tells everyone that she wants to throw a party before the school year begins at her place. Everyone is invited. And as Toni and Cheryl begin talking, our favorite redhead opens up about her past. About how she felt hopeless and depressed at Sweetwater River during one winter. Then as she attempted to take her life, Archie came in and saved her. Now she feels sad that she cannot do anything to help Archie from staying out of prison. Number 2. The Kiss That Almost Happened. Wanting to get even closer to Toni, but fearing her mother would not allow her to spend the night with another girl in her room, Cheryl decides to invite the entire River Vixens cheerleading team over for a sleepover. With all of them asleep, Toni and Cheryl were wide awake, and since they were in the same bed, they got to talking. Cheryl told her that she only wanted to invite her, but she couldn't. Toni understood what she was going through and supported her 100%. In that moment of closeness, Cheryl began moving towards Toni and she allowed it. Man, I still remember that feeling of sitting on the edge and waiting for something to happen. Just as they were about to kiss, a loud noise coming from downstairs interrupts them, and they both run downstairs to see what had happened, all while leaving the viewers completely pissed. Number 1. The Kiss That Actually Happened. You knew this one was going to be our number 1 pick. It's the cutest moment when the two girls finally seal their love and kiss in front of everyone, declaring their relationships in front of everyone. But what actually happened in that scene? Well, as Cheryl went missing for a couple of days, Toni immediately began looking for her when she found out that the love of her life was abducted by the Sisters of Quiet Mercy. Knowing Cheryl, Toni figures that she must be miserable there, so she organizes a team and goes looking for her. They break into the building and Toni storms into the classroom where the captives are watching a movie. When Cheryl sees Toni at the door, she immediately ran towards her and hugged the woman that she loves the most. And just as all the class were watching them, they kissed for the first time. And that was the exact moment we all exhaled a sigh of relief. The moment we've been waiting for has finally happened. And on that note, we end this video. But hey, which one of these moments was actually your favorite? You can tell us in the comment section below. If you like more videos like these, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of them. And as always, thanks for watching, guys!